Aaron Judge on the IL. Elbow issue, not a tear as far as we know in the UCL, but when he comes back, he's going to have to DH. Give us everything you have on this one. This is a top two player in our sport. Should Yankee fans be concerned?
Very. A lot of people were very worried. I sent out a flash on Saturday afternoon when this happened to let everybody know because the rumors were flying that this was a UCL tear. And now that the news comes out that it's a flexor strain, everybody's like, oh, it could have been a lot worse. No, it couldn't have. This is worse than the UCL tear. I know that's strange to say, but for a hitter, if you can remember just a couple of years ago, Bryce Harper ruptured his UCL and continued hitting, took the team to the playoffs, and then had surgery after the season. Barely missed any time, barely threw off his game other than change positions. For Judge, a flexor tendon, which is what you need to rotate the bat, to maintain grip, to make those fine adjustments that you have to make, this is everything. Without this, he cannot play, which is why he's on the IL. And as we've seen with pitchers, this doesn't heal quickly. This small little tendon, which overlaps with the UCL, often takes a month or even more to heal up. So, first, he's not going to be able to throw. That locks him in at DH. That certainly makes a problem with Giancarlo Stanton, who's had his own issues with his elbows. Second, we don't know when he's going to be able to hit. It's not like the UCL where it isn't involved in the swing. It's very involved in the swing. So this could go much past the 15-day. We don't have a solid read on this. Secondarily, uh, they were very precise with their wording on exactly what's going on with their elbow. They were clear that there's a flexor strain. They didn't say exactly how much. I hear it's a grade two, which is bad, but that one could be worse. Uh, but they just said the UCL was intact. They didn't say it was fine. They didn't say there was no damage. The whole no structural damage thing is often a little bit of a misnomer. So in this situation, this for Judge, this is bad. For the Yankees, this is bad.
Okay, I have two questions off what you just said. One, how many times do we see pitchers flexor strain then Tommy John? Like it seems like
Mhm.
pitcher flexor strain, month later, oh, we tried to come
Yeah.
back. Oh, we're actually having Tommy John, right? And then
Yeah.
two, best guess. I'm not asking, but best guess. How long do you think he will be? I know you're saying no timetable, but best guess. How long until Aaron Judge can be at least a DH for the Yankees?
Let's start with the second one. I think it's going to be closer to a month. If we just absolutely take out throwing from this, it's still going to affect his swing. So I think we're going to be able to see uh, in about 15 days how long this is going to take. I don't think we're going to know in a week because he's going to have to let this calm down. I'm sure they're hitting it with biologics and anti-inflammatories, giving it every possible way to heal up. But the question is, how is he going to be functionally? And luckily, because of things like the Traject machine that the Yankees love, they're going to be able to test that out pretty quickly. They're going to use light bats. They're going to use all sorts of functional equipment to see exactly when he can swing. So I think it'll be closer to a month than the 15 days. But again, that's just a best guess. As for the former part, the flexor to UCL, yeah, you see it a lot in pitchers. Yeah, here we are in 2025. We know a lot. We've come a long way with sports medicine, but we still don't know why the UCL breaks. If you go back to the research, it shouldn't hold up to one pitch, let alone hundreds. We've changed how people pitch. We haven't had a 120 pitch outing this season in the major leagues. So what we're doing doesn't work. We know that, but the actual biomechanical effects, we simply don't know what causes it. But we've got a lot of theories, and one of those is that the flexor and the forearm acts as a brake, which takes some of the stress off the UCL. So if you take that away, bad things happen. Just like if you cut the brakes on a car, nothing good's going to happen after that.
Judge said he wanted to come back at the end of the 10 days.
Yeah.
There was a big argument. He didn't even want to go on the IL. I'm assuming, based on what you're saying, that the medical team's like, no, this isn't good. Is there some type of wrap, some type of like brace? Because we saw Harper had, I know it was his lead arm, he had that
Mhm.
brace when he was going through and recovering from Tommy John. Is there something that they could brace it and maybe get him back in the 10 days?
Yes. You could basically treat this like a UCL strain or sprain, excuse me. you could brace him up and see how it goes. And I'm sure that's something, if they haven't already done, they're going to do. I think the bigger question here is throwing. For Harper, they just shifted him to DH. They knew the throwing wasn't going to happen. So if they're going to do that with Judge, that would certainly improve the odds of return. I just think it's the simple function of the flexor versus the UCL. The UCL is not involved at all. It's not under stress during a normal swing. If you hyperextend, yes, a little bit, but that doesn't often happen. But the flexor, if you take away Aaron Judge's grip with his unique swing, I just don't think he's going to be effective. I think he's going to miss. I think he's not going to be able to track pitches as well. He's not going to be able to make the really fine motor adjustments. Just think about what, I mean, you guys have done this. How do you adjust to one of these, Jacob Misiorowski sweepers that are moving, 65 feet, it feels like? How do you deal with a sinker running in on you? It's those fine adjustments. You have to make those. I just don't think he's capable of that, at least in the short term.
We've all seen a lot of us have seen the video of Judge making the throw in Toronto where he kind of he's like, could the Yankees have done something different to avoid this, or was this just like one throw, something happened, and if it was going to happen, it was going to happen?
Well, he said it happened on a throw in Toronto, and I've gone back and I don't really see any indication. There was a kind of weak-ish throw. I mean, he's got a good arm, not a plus arm. So, no, I don't think it was one thing. I think it probably built up to this. He probably felt a grab at one point, and then the thing that's different for outfielders is they don't warm up. You're out there standing around for a while. You're not making as many throws. You're certainly not doing something there. You can see him kind of grabbing at it. So it's one of those situations where I don't think it was one thing, but it probably feels to him like one thing. Could you brace him up? Yeah, you could put one of those big robot looking braces on him, but it's really going to affect how he throws. I just don't think he's going to be able to do that. The question is, can you brace him up and have him swing? And I think there's going to be issues with that.
All right. Well, whenever he comes back, he's definitely going to be DHing. How much that puts a strain on Giancarlo Stanton's elbows, the issue that he had. Not even talking about his legs, his running, everything. Is that whatever it was that, I remember reading, I think it was like a tennis elbow in both elbows. Is that something that is more or less inflamed, or like if you're playing in the outfield, is it something that's clearly they're worried about G's health playing in the outfield when they can't DH him?
Yeah, this one's an odd one. They called it tennis elbow, but really what it is tendinosis, which is, tendonitis is just inflammation of a tendon. In this case, one in the elbow. It's basically the opposite side of the UCL, but everybody kind of understands tennis elbow and what causes it. And it's usually vibration. It's usually overuse. I've heard a lot of talk about just how many swings he takes. And did that wear on him and cause those changes? Tendinosis is when there's actually cellular level changes in the tendon itself, and tendons are a weird thing. When you take a tendon and transplant it either into an ACL or a UCL, it actually physically becomes that over a period of about 5 years. So when you see cellular level changes, those aren't going to get better. So he's basically got this chronic issue that he's having to deal with over and over. They've been able to maintain it. He certainly hasn't been the same player he's been over past years. This is one that's just going to continue to get worse. If you add throwing into it, it's not going to be great. I keep thinking back, and you guys will probably remember this one. When Albert Pujols hurt his elbow, I think it was 2003. They used to run Edgar Renteria out to him to take a really deep cutoff. They would even kind of undercut it with the first baseman. I forget who it was at that point. I think it was probably Tino Martinez. But they would almost do a double cut for deep things just to make sure that Pujols didn't have to throw, because he frankly couldn't at that stage. So maybe with either Stanton or Judge, you could do something similar there. Both of their middle infielders have good arms.
Kratz, at some point, we're going to laugh about how healthcare was so reactive and not proactive. And we're starting to change that with superpower. They believe every human has 100+ year potential. and they're here to help you get there. I'm a big believer in this. I just started the journey, so I'm excited about it. And what do you think?
As a player, you're always looking ways to improve yourself, improve your health. And this is an easy way. Superpowers made it way easier than when I was playing. You had to go get all these lab panels, and it was a long, drawn out, expensive process. But now with Superpower, so this is awesome for me. I'm excited about it.
They'll send a licensed professional to your home, or you can visit a nearby lab. For a limited time, the FT fam can get $50 off an annual Superpower membership by using code FOUL at checkout. Just head to superpower.com and use code FOUL to get our exclusive discount. Your biology decoded, your blueprint activated with Superpower. After your purchase, they'll ask you where you heard about them, and please support FT and tell them we sent you.
Let's talk about two other teams that are having injury issues of their own. The Braves, every pitcher they have seems to be going down. And the Dodgers, is this an organizational thing, or is this just one of those years where everything went wrong?
Both. For the Braves, it was completely unplanned. I mean, you never plan for injuries, but you don't expect to have an injury stack where every single pitcher on the opening day roster is gone now. They've had to bring in people. They've had to make, I don't want to call it a desperation trade for Fetty, but that's essentially what it is. They have so many young arms that they've brought up maybe a little bit early, and you saw the same with the Dodgers. And both have had costs. You bring up guys and put them in situations where they haven't pitched this much. They certainly haven't pitched at this level. I remember the Dodgers having to bring guys up from Double A, which isn't as unusual, but it certainly cost them. And we saw the cost. Emmett Sheehan is just now coming back from Tommy John after he was coming up. With the Braves, look, the idea that Chris Sale or Spencer Strider or some of these are going to have injuries, yeah, that's part of the deal. We understand that first off, these are injury-prone players that have had a history of it, and history of injuries is the best predictor of future injuries. These guys have had Tommy John surgeries. Strider's on his second. Same with the Dodgers. They've brought in a lot of players that are really, really talented, really expensive, but also really injury prone. Tyler Glasnow has always had that issue. Blake Snell always had that issue. They signed Roki Sasaki knowing that he'd had issues last year and pretty much every season of his career because he's just so talented. On the other hand, with the bullpen, that's the problem, is they just don't have other arms. It should be the easiest thing to collect arms. It seems like everybody out there just throws 96 with a sweeper. But everybody that throws 96 with a sweeper seems to get hurt. So there's a trade-off there. I think with both these organizations, they've got to address whether or not their processes are good, but these are both really good medical staffs. If anybody has an elbow injury or a shoulder injury or a knee injury, one of the first calls is to Neil Elitrosh, the director of medicine for the Dodgers and the Rams and virtually everybody else. So I don't think that's the problem. I think the front office is going to have to look at themselves and say, are we just taking on too many things to hold together? I mean, obviously it's worked. They're still winning. They've got a World Series ring. So if they're just going to accept those kinds of risks and figure out how to make do with the 6 starters they've had healthy at any point, it's hard to say it hasn't worked, but man, it's a lot of work on that medical staff.
All right. Well, you said one thing interesting to me. You said they bring these kids up from Double A and they're not used to it. Is rushing them hurting arms, or is it right? Because like every organization kind of does the same. We're going to baby him. We're going to baby him. We're going to baby him. Why? Like, tell them don't throw 98, throw 95, and try to save something, right? You don't have to throw a 100-mile-an-hour sweeper on every pitch. I don't know. It's a question we could do 10 shows on this issue for me.
I don't think you can say don't throw your hardest, and then a hitter turns on you, and you're sent back to the minor leagues, and you say, well, that didn't work. You see guys called up. You see guys signed because they throw 100, 101, 104. We're seeing velocity is what people are changing or chasing. We're seeing all this pitch design that's putting more stress. That's why we're seeing all these lat strains. We're seeing a ton more oblique strains because guys are getting imbalanced. This isn't news. I don't think it's the rushing. I really think actually getting guys through. You guys were talking about Nick Kurtz, second best game ever, by the way. Sean Green had one that was just a little bit better. It's one of those things where when you look at what's happening, I was looking at Grant Holmes today, the Braves pitcher that just went down. He was in the minor leagues for like a decade, And the highest he ever went was 148 innings, and that was back in like 2017. Most of these pitchers that we see, these top minor league prospects, aren't going to touch 100 innings this year. Forget the idea that we're going to have guys who are throwing 190, 200 innings at the major league level. Those days seem to be gone, and there's no good reason for it. I'm sure you guys talked to guys who threw 250, 300 innings not that long ago, back when you guys were playing. That was regular. When I started out at Baseball Prospectus, we had a stat called pitcher abuse points, which was when we were seeing guys go 150, 160 pitches. We haven't had one go 120. I think the biggest problem is that at the minor league level, we're not setting these guys up for success because they're not putting on any workload. Babying them isn't working just differently than overworking them was. We've got to find a middle ground. I think there's some methods that would work, but that would take a whole different segment of the show.
Yep, I'm with you. We used the example close to home for you, White Sox. Who was it, Noah Schultz?
Yeah, he went 3 years in the minor leagues and never threw 5 innings. Never made it to a 5th inning. Never made a 5th inning. Like, what are we doing? I don't know. Trust me, I don't understand. If you talk to pitchers, they don't understand it. But the more we baby them, the more they get hurt.
Yeah, you pitch more in high school and college in terms of length in a game, and then you go backwards for a while. Make it make sense.
I'll make it. I think there's pitchers out there that can throw a lot more. The issue is we don't have any sort of system. If I wanted to say, hey, go bench press 300 pounds, I'm not going to strap 300 pounds on there and hope. I'm going to build up to it. Or for Kratz, I guess that would be just Tuesday.
It is.
It's one of those days or things where why don't we use the systems that work? If I want to run a marathon, I don't just go run a marathon, I build up to it. Why don't we see if these guys can throw 85, 90, 95, 100? There are guys out there that probably go full Levon Hernandez and throw 150 innings every other, or 150 pitches every other day, who could go 300 innings the way guys used to, but we don't have any system to get there.